And welcome back to Made Up of Wires. I don't consider myself a scary developer, but I apologize if I do frighten you. We're decompiling Castlevania Symphony of the Night. You can go to soten.z.dev to learn more. I have limited time, a little late today, and hello Ramadan Kareem. Happy Ramadan if you celebrate. I have a limited time today, so we're gonna have a limited stream, and we'll see what there is to do. We're gonna get right into it. So we've been working on the Grant Ralph Sifa fight. I do have a save state here. I was trying to get some information about what we've been decompiling and failing at that miserably. We'll try again today and see if we can get something a little better. Let me clean up my... might as well show this, why not? Duck Station isn't Duck Station. Oh, it is. There we go. Just not in the right place. So I have a debugger open, CPU debugger in DuckStation. Let me get rid of all the breakpoints that I have. I don't think we'll be using those today. And we'll come back and we'll add a few more. I am going to come back and load just before the boss state. Boss fight. It's a boss state. All right, let's get in and see what we might be decompiling today. I'm not concerned about the boss doors. So when you enter the boss fight, you're trapped into the room, and so that's what those doors are. Let's go look at this single function that's remaining here and see what this is. A medium-size-ish function, not terribly long. Hey, Womp Dump. Good to have you. Is progress good? Yeah, progress is pretty good. I mentioned I haven't been working on this outside of the stream very much because I'm working on another utility to try to speed up our build process a little bit. That's one area that I'm pretty interested in is tooling and things like that. And that's my other free time has been spent with that. There's some complexity with some things that I'll talk about when it is finished. If I don't finish it, it would be embarrassing to talk about it. It should be. The game, I'm not so sure about the game. I haven't actually looked at the progress. I've been very antisocial lately. I haven't been on Discord, haven't really been on GitHub. No real reason except sometimes I just want to disengage. And gotten a lot of feedback about that over the years. All right, so I'm updating the function signature, and let's see what else we'll need. So we have just one data type. My guess is that it's an init. It isn't an init. Too bad. That would have been nice. It's not just me. All right, so what do we have? We have something where we have 12 bytes of data. That's an interesting number. 12 offsets of 12 aren't very common. So we're coming in, and it looks like we have a struct with a handful of signed 16s. So it looks like we have a collection of 4 signed 16s. So let's make a new data type. And I like making anonymous type defs for these. And we'll call this unknown. We'll name it after the address that it exists at. It might be something that we've seen before. I don't know. We'll come back and see. And so I'm just going to do the easy thing and put 6 signed 16s in here. And actually, I'm going to make these multiples of 2 to make them a little easier to find. We'll name them with hex. And then we'll define our type as an extern array of these. Now we can get a new decomp, and decomp.me will use that new type, and hopefully that mostly works. And I can come back later. So some of these, it's giving me the hint, hey, those are should be signed or unsigned. Possibly a byte. Don't know. But that actually might get us compiling. And 85%, not too bad. So some things are definitely not right. Actually, it's not too bad. This is a pretty short one. And actually, because of my other commitments, I think this will probably be all I do today. We'll get the PSP version and this version done. I'm going to do some cleanup first, and then we'll get into finding differences. I want to get rid of as many variables as possible. In this case, I do think we will have a variable here. Oh, that's interesting. The step is based on the params. That's not very common. I'm going to call temp A0 params. Here we have a division that doesn't look like a division, but this is going to be a minus equals self velocity divided by 4. I've seen enough of these that I can recognize it finally. It looks like same for velocity x. We do need to, if RV0 is not important, get rid of all of that. Greater than equals here, this is going to be greater than 14. Here, do we have, no, we don't have pose and pose timer. The screen was in my nightmares. I apologize. I don't think I've had nightmares about Soten, which I suppose is good. Definitely have had nightmares about other programming projects. So this go-to is just repeated. So basically for all of these, I'm going to repeat this. Get rid of the label. So my guess is that this is something related to an attack, and we can come and see what it might be. So I'm thinking of like Sifa has her. She has her fire, which could have multiple variants. There's the like, what's the right? The blue attack, whatever that one, whatever you want to call it. That one. I'm gonna make this a break and get rid of the default. One second, just need to make sure that this isn't something important. Yeah, it's like not. All right, so we have these labels gone. Doing pretty well, 97%, just with some minimal cleanup. Params, I may reuse here. I'm not sure if it's reused. This looks like it's shifted over first. Like the code probably shifts it over first. GCC optimizes that to unmask. Because we... I guess we don't have to mask it if we're shifting it over. Because it's unsigned. We don't... the top bit doesn't get shifted with it. If it was a signed shift, it would. I don't know if I want to reuse... I do want to reuse params, but I don't know if it'll be that. I guess we'll find out later. Okay, so I'm ordering here with this variable. So that could mean a couple things. It could be that there is no variable here and we're just loading this each time and using the dot operator. That is not uncommon. Try that and see if that... so then GCC will come through and say, hey, you keep loading that over and over. Don't do that. I will cache this. It doesn't look like that's the case here. Let's do this. Yeah. Okay, not sure. Unfortunately, this change, which I thought would be slightly better, has broken things a little bit more. We'll come back to that. 56. I don't think we're going to be doing the mask. So this could be a signed value or just implicitly checking it. There's no mask. By not assigning it to a variable, we don't have to mask it. This will be -3. FF would be 1. FE would be 2. So yeah, -3. We can check that to make sure that I'm doing my math right. Not always. 75. I realized that I screwed up. 15? Nope. 13. No, 12. 12, okay. Went the wrong direction when I updated that. Often this will be not step instead of a explicit equals. Doesn't affect GCC or the PlayStation, but probably will affect the PSP. This is one of the rare cases. I've mentioned this before, but I wrote a linter to go through and replace all of the plus equals ones with plus pluses. And there are cases like this where plus equals 1, the correct thing is to write plus plus, but it generates different code, and you wouldn't expect it to generate different code. There's no reason it should generate different code, but it does. All right, the bottom all looks fine. So there's a bunch of types down here that are probably different than what is there. This animate entity, this is going to be a pointer to an array. This one is going to be minus equals 1 or minus minus. Oh, interesting. Okay, minus equals 1. You do it long enough and it starts to make sense. It all starts to blur together. It is really just a form of math. No, you're definitely not dumb. Just inexperienced, maybe. All right, so the things that we have wrong here are, and so what we're doing is, C, believe it or not, is considered a high-level language. I don't think most people would consider it a high-level language anymore, but in the 80s and 90s, it was considered better than writing the assembly that we see over on the right. And so we're doing a, what is the right word for it? It's on the tip of my tongue. We're doing a transformation effectively from what is supposedly readable by humans to something that's more readable by machines. And isomorphic, that's what. In the Metroworks case, you may even consider it isomorphic. It's not quite. What isomorphic would mean is that they're just two different representations of the same thing. It's not quite that simple. Yeah, reals, I think that's a big issue. And what can we do about it, though? How can we create things that people want to watch? I find myself a lot of times, let me fix this. I think it's going to be plus equals 2. Like, I want to read a book or even do some just programming for fun. And the reels, I don't do too much reels, but I'll play like idle games. I've been playing Balatro a lot lately. And it's just a waste of time. It's such a waste of time. We don't let our kids really get on any media with short form content like that. If we come across something, we'll share it. But kids are, what's happening with kids is actually extremely concerning and somewhat scary. This case 0 here may be part of, no, it won't be part of the switch. Okay, never mind. And the reason I say it's scary is I don't think the education system necessarily understands how wrapped up in just time-wasting content the youth are at the moment. And as a parent, I see it, and it's pretty horrific. All right, so we have an entity extension that we'll eventually need to create here. It looks like this should probably be assigned 16. I'm gonna make this assigned 16. There's so much that's even like should be fun that kids don't do anymore. It's really sad. I'm gonna assume, and it might be a bad assumption, that this is part of this expression. I don't know if it's gonna be. No, let's take it out. It's in an S register. I'll make this the scale variable. We're kind of regressing. No, yeah, definitely don't give your kids phones. I completely agree with that. Fortunately, my kids do like to go out. So I think I'm going to switch this back. I don't really like it. But it looks like that's possibly the way that it was written. Not quite. So screwed something up here. I could go back and look at M2C, but I'm not too concerned about it. The rest of this is looking fine. I'm going to see how many of these variables that are left in here. Try to prune those, and then we'll move over to the PSP. It's definitely a kids these days thing. I catch myself doing that maybe more than I should. Being an old man now. All right. I think this is the minimal set of variables that we can get away with. There might be one more, and there could be some types throughout that are wrong as well. But I think it's a reasonable start, and I think we can move on to the PSP. So the issue with finding the PSP version is finding something in here that is unique enough that I can search for to find the PSP version. I'm going to go with this palette. Palettes are usually the same between versions. They don't have to be, but often they are. And they may or may not be shared. So I'm going to grep for this. So I use command line tools for just about everything. That's just something that I've been doing for a very long time. My kind of preferred workspace. What's nice about command line tools, and I learned this a long time ago, and it was just an idea that I like. Not everybody works this way. Some people are very productive with IDEs. But the nice thing about command line tools is they're the same. If you have a Unix-like workstation or platform, they're the same, and they have been for 50 years. And so I can go on any system and grep around. I can use Vim or VI at least anywhere. And so getting good at those tools, I feel like I'm just as productive as somebody with an IDE, but the tools that I have are ubiquitous, except on Windows. And there's 1. And so could I do a like directory search for this in I don't know what Visual Studio Code or something like that? Sure, why not? But then I would have to know that specific editor, and in that case, Visual Studio Code is probably not the best example because it is available everywhere. But I have to install it. It takes gigs and gigs of memory to run. You need a graphical environment, things like that, and I don't have to worry about any of that. So we're going to create a PSP scratch with the PSP version of this function. PSP version is a different compiler. Should be the same code. Different compiler settings, which is nice. And so we're going to get some of our... Oh, wrong one. Some of our context moved over. Oh, did I close the wrong one? I did. Drat. All right. Let's go to the right one. I do as much as possible to get the kids out and about, taking at least one of them camping this weekend. Be cold. Who you decomping? You don't decomp me. So it looks like there may be an uninitialized register A1. So M2C thought that there was an additional argument being used, and sometimes that can be because a variable is used without being initialized. And we are not... Did I not choose the right reset? I didn't. That's a little better. All right, so we have some masking and some types that need to be fixed. So unknown 4 is going to be a unsigned. Unknown 6 is going to be unsigned. And I'm basing that on these instructions. So instead of the LH load half, we have LHU load half unsigned. And I'm getting the offsets from this. So it looks like unknown 0 is also unsigned. These might be all unsigned. And then we have a sign extension 15. Let's go over there. It looks like this anim set. So for whatever reason, GCC or the M2C decided to add a cast to sign 16s, and that caused that SEH instruction to show up. It's like, yeah, like I said, all of these. Nope, not that one. Unknown 2. Unsigned. 17. This is out of order. Unknown 8 looks like unsigned. Let's make them all unsigned. Unknown 8 actually is a 32-bit. That looks good. $20. So it looks like we're loading this again and doing the shift, which I think is the way that M2C originally wrote it. It's doing the shift and the mask, and then, sorry, the mask and then the shift. Looks better. We might be storing this. Oh, it actually might not be stored to a variable at all then. Yeah, that makes more sense. I've heard of it, but I've not read it. One of the first comments from Reddit is science fiction that disturbs you, or disturbs and stays with you. That sounds like something actually right up my alley. That's the kind of thing I like. So here we have a sign extension which indicates that a 16-bit value, a signed 16-bit value is being loaded into a 32-bit register. And so I think maybe this is being repeated. Yeah, weird. So instead of the minus equals, it's repeating. And so the MetroWorks compilation, again, it isn't optimized. So an optimizer would look at this and say, I don't need to treat this any different than a minus equals arithmetically. And so it'll reduce a significant number of the instructions that it needs to emit to get the same output. And same thing here, there may be a this may be something like this. In this case, not sure what's causing the additional moves here. Might be something else later on, so I'm going to keep going and assume that something else will resolve that. Oh, interesting. Is the game a recent game? Looks like maybe some ordering here. 90s point and click, that sounds good. There's so many of these little things that the GCC version makes it hard to find, but then it just becomes super obvious on the PSP. And I always enjoy how linear it is. So basically a lot of the same optimizations that were done throughout, which I guess makes sense. And the same things that M2C didn't necessarily do, which also makes sense. I think I got that wrong. So here we have case 8 and 9 as well as case 10 leading here. In the PSP version it looks like it's just case 8. So we may have other cases. Oh, and it could be that 8, 9, and 10 are actually all the same thing, just repeated. Let's see. So we've maybe not. We'll get into it and find out. Same thing here, where instead of a plus equals, it's a equals, and then adding, or not. Okay, so what is going on here on 136? We're loading offset 8C. We maybe... no, there's no variable here. Very odd. Yes, okay. So yeah, I think I see what's happening here is this might have to be broken out, but I think what's happening is basically this case is repeated 3 times and it's always the same. And so once we figure out the correct ordering here on 134, we'll know what the right thing is for all of them. I'm going to try the plus here. That's the wrong order. That also is the wrong order. Unsigned. Okay, so this was supposed to be unsigned, so we'll have to do that for all of them. And GCC would optimize that all into the same thing, so that makes sense. And actually, that was what solved everything. And this one is correct now. The only difference is this global. So I expect this, we'll need the the corrected context. I expect this to work in GCC as well. I only use physical media. We should hang out. Me too. I did a podcast a long time ago, maybe not a long time ago, a year or so ago. The podcast was the Cherry Bombs podcast, and it was all about physical media and the sad state of the world. Yeah, Pigsy, right, is doing the port. Yeah, I watch his videos too. So what we're doing is we're getting a source matching decompilation. So our, over the course of this last, how long? I don't remember when I started. I can't see my timer. Anyway, last 30 minutes or so, we got the C code to compile to exactly what was on the disk on the PlayStation and PSP versions of the game. So we know from doing a lot of this now that the source for both of those versions of the game is mostly identical. And then we'll take it over here and get it to compile back to the same objects that were in the game and on the game disk. And then after that, kind of the world's your oyster as to what you do with that information. And we're doing kind of ship of Theseus style, one function at a time, one bit of data at a time. And that worked. So these are the objects that we currently have building for the US version and for the HD version, which is found on the PSP version of the game, and the PSP EU version of the game, which is the mobile and PS4 version of the game as well. And there's some mods that people have done, some debug tools, other things like that based on this work. Oh, thank you, 82. Yeah, you definitely check out Pigsy's videos. I've wondered, I haven't reached out to him at all, the way that he's going about doing his Genesis implementation is basically starting from first principles. There are tools, including the SciQ tools that became the PlayStation SDK, that are available for the Genesis. So obviously there's PlayStation hardware features that are not available on the Genesis, but the C API, like libc, and some other things like that are available on the Genesis. What isn't there is all the GPU related stuff. But yeah, as far as I know, he's starting from assembly and just going through like basic game development principles, which I think is pretty cool. There was a Castlevania that was scheduled for the 32X prior to being canceled, and I've often wondered if there's remnants of that around and how similar are they to Symphony of the Night, if at all. I don't know if we'll ever know. 32X has some similarities, not all, but some similarities to Saturn, and so I've often wondered if there's enough hardware there once we have source to do a 32X port. That would be really awesome. Belmont's Curse, very excited about that as well. It's awesome to get a Bloodstained and a Castlevania game in the same year. That's all the time that I have for today, though. Appreciate everybody showing up. Good conversation. Happy Ramadan. And I will see you all tomorrow. Adios.